Yashoda Nandana Raja Janarandana
Yashoda Nandana
Yashoda Nandana Raja Janarandana
Yashoda Nandana
Yamuna Tira Yamuna Tira Ganachari
Yamuna Tira Ganachari
Jaya Radha Madhava Kundali Hari Gopi Jana Bala Girivardhani Yashoda Nandana Raja Janarandana Yashoda Nandana Raja Janarandana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Churunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Karamayam Darati Swakarantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yukta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagradatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vijanscha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Nami Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavani Paschatyadesh Manchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhubhya evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namah. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Tata Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhana Sute Devi Pranamami Hari. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaganarottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udiraya. Nashta Prayeshva Madreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavat Yuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashri. Grantaraj Śrimad Bhagāvatam ki jai. Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. You can take the harmonium away. Thank you. Yeah, this is good. So, Hare Krishna. Good morning, everyone.
Daga Josen.
Dobre utro. That's about as much Russian as I know.
俄羅斯文嘅早晨。
Canto 1, Chapter 7, verse number 6. Yeah.
第一篇第7章嘅第6節詩。
5, 6. 7, 6. Anato Pashamang Sakshat. Is this the verse? 176?
係咪176？
Okay. Famous verse.
好出名嘅呢個詩節。
Okay, we're reading from Canto 1, Chapter 7, verse number 6. Chapter 7 is called The Son of Drona Punished.
我哋今日咧讀到聖典《博伽雅談》第一篇第7章第6節詩。呢一章嘅主題咧係 Drona 嘅兒子受到懲罰。
Although this is the title of the chapter, these verses, this first section, is not directly, in any case, about this subject of the son of Drona punished.
咁雖然咧呢一章嘅主題咧係 Drona 嘅兒子受罰啦，咁但係咧喺呢一章嘅頭嘅部分咧，佢唔係直接同呢一個主題有相關嘅。
Rather, we could say it's about its glorification of the Śrimad Bhagāvatam.
而係咧講到博伽雅談嘅榮耀。
Which is a major theme of the entire first canto.
亦都係咧第一篇嘅一個好主要嘅主題。
And which appears again and again throughout the Bhagāvatam.
所以博伽雅談嘅榮耀咧喺整部嘅博伽雅談咧會一次又一次咁樣去到出現。
And here we're getting a kind of origination story. How it is that the Bhagāvatam is composed by Srila Vyasadeva.
咁喺呢度講到咧聖典博伽雅談嘅一個緣由啊，佢係點樣咧被Srila Vyasadeva 咧所去到編撰。
And this is one of a series of verses which are regarded as extremely important by Srila Jiva Goswami in his Shatsandarbha.
咁 Srila Jiva Goswami 咧喺佢嘅 Shatsandarbha 裏面咧講到咧呢一組嘅詩節咧係非常之重要嘅。
So we can chant the verse
我哋可以
together.
一齊念呢個詩節。
Anarto Pashamang Sakshat.
Anato Pashamam Sashat.
Anarto Pashamang Sakshat.
Anato Pashamam Sashat.
Bhakti Yogam Adhokshaje.
Bhakti Yogam Atokshaje.
Bhakti Yogam Adhokshaje.
Bhakti Yogam Atokshaje.
Lokasya Janato Vidvan.
Lokasya Janato Vidvans.
Lokasya Janato Vidvan.
Lokasya Janato Vidvans.
Chakre Satvata Samhitam.
Chakre Satvata Samhitam.
Chakre Satvata Samhitam.
Chakre Savata Samhitam.
Anarto Pasamang Sakshat.
Anato Pashamam Sashat.
Bhakti Yogam Adhokshaje.
Bhakti Yogam Adokshaje.
Lokasya Janato Vidvan.
Lokasya Janato Vidvams.
Chakre Satvata Samhitam.
Chakre Satvata Samhitam.
Others can chant.
Anarto Pashamam Sashat. Bhakti Yogam Adokshaje. Vidvams. Chakre Satvata Samhitam. Anato Pashamam Sashat. Bhakti Yogam Adokshaje. lokasya janato vidvamsh chakrishamrata samhitam anatopashamam sashat bhakti yogam adoksaje lokasya janato vidvams chakre satvasta samhitam anatopashamam sashat bhakti yogam adoksaje lokasya janato vidvams chakre satvata samhitam anatopashamam sashat bhakti yogam adoksaje lokasya janato vidvams chakre satvata samhitam.
Okay, what does it mean?
究竟係咩意思呢？
Anartha,
Anartha,
things which are superfluous.
superfluous，那些多餘的事物。
Upashamam,
Upashamam,
mitigation.
mitigation，減緩。
Satshat,
Sashat,
directly.
directly，直接地。
Bhakti yogam,
Bhakti yogam,
the linking process of devotional service.
the linking process of devotionals，奉愛服務的聯繫程序。
Adhokshaje,
Adoksaje,
unto the transcendence.
unto the transcendence，向超然性。
Lokasya,
Lokasya,
of the general mass of men.
of the general mass of men，一般大眾的。
Ajanata,
Ajanata,
those who are unaware of.
those who are unaware，那些不知道的。
Vidvan,
Vidwan,
the supremely learned.
the supremely learned，極有學識的。
Chakre,
Chakre,
compiled.
compile，編撰。
Sattvata,
Sattvata,
in relation with the supreme truth.
in relation to the supreme truth，與至尊真理有關的。
Sanghitam,
Samhitam,
Vedic literature.
Vedic literature，偉達文獻。
Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Translation: the material miseries of the living entity, which are superfluous to him, can be directly mitigated by the linking process of devotional service. But the mass of people do not know this, and therefore the learned Vyasadeva compiled this Vedic literature, which is in relation to the supreme truth.
譯文生物所受的不必受的物質痛苦，可以通過做奉愛服務與超然的至尊主連接得到緩解，但絕大多數人都不知道這一點。為此，博學的 Vyasadeva 編撰了講述有關至尊真理的這部偉大文獻。
Purport: Srila Vyasadeva saw the all-perfect personality of Godhead. This statement suggests that the complete unit of the personality of Godhead includes his parts and parcels also.
聖 Vyasadeva 看到絕對完美的人格守神，這節詩提及前面 這節詩及前面的詩所作的說明表示，人格守神作為整體，也包括它不可缺少的部分。
He saw, therefore, his different energies, namely the internal energy, the marginal energy, and the external energy. He also saw his different plenary portions and parts of the plenary portions, namely his different incarnations also. And he specifically observed the unwanted miseries of the conditioned souls who are bewildered by the external energy.
因此 Vyasade 看到了至尊主不同能量，其中包括內在能量、邊緣能量和外在能量。他還看到至尊主的各個完整擴展，以及完整擴展的不同化身。不僅如此，他還清楚地看到受制約的靈魂在至尊主外在能量迷惑下所受的本不需要受的痛苦。
And at last he saw the remedial measure for the conditioned souls, namely the process of devotional service. It is a great transcendental science and begins with the process of hearing and chanting the name, fame, glory, etc. of the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
最後他看到了治癒受制約靈魂的方法，奉愛服務。奉愛服務是一門非凡的超然科學，他以聆聽和吟誦吟唱至尊人格守神的名字、形象和榮耀為開端。
Revival of the dormant affection or love of Godhead does not depend on the mechanical system of hearing and chanting, but it solely and wholly depends on the causeless mercy of the Lord. When the Lord is fully satisfied with the sincere efforts of the devotee, he may endow him with his loving transcendental service.
要喚醒沉睡在心中對守神的愛，並不依靠聆聽和吟誦吟唱的機械程序，而完全只依靠至尊主沒有緣故的仁慈。當奉獻者真誠的努力使至尊者完全滿意時，至尊主就會賜予奉獻者為他做超然愛心服務的機會。
But even with the prescribed forms of hearing and chanting, there is at once mitigation of the superfluous and unwanted miseries of material existence. Such mitigation of material affection does not wait for development of transcendental knowledge. Rather, knowledge is dependent on devotional service for the ultimate realization of the supreme truth.
儘管如此，如果我們按照規定的聆聽和吟誦吟唱方式做，也會感到我們所受的本不需要受的物質存在的痛苦頓時減輕了。要緩解這種物質影響，並不需要培養超然的知識，相反，只有為最高的覺悟目標、至尊真理服務，才能獲得超然的知識。
Let's see, Dharma, Vargas, Dharma, yeah, Vasudeva, okay. Okay, once again, Anarto Pashamal Sakshat Bhakti Yogam Adhokshade Lokasya Janato Vidbangs Chakre Satvata Sanghitam, the material miseries of the living entity which are superfluous to him can be directly mitigated by the linking process of devotional service. But the mass of people do not know this, and therefore the learned Vyasadeva compiled this Vedic literature which is in relation to the supreme truth.
我哋再讀多一次嗰個頭先個詩節同埋譯文。譯文係生物所受嘅不必要嘅物質痛苦，可以通過做奉愛服務與超然嘅至尊主連接得到緩解，但絕大多數人不知道這一點。為此，博學的 Vyasa Vyasadeva 編撰了講述有關絕對至尊真理的這部偉大文獻。
The verse is referring to Vyasa as Vidvan, as a learned, as supremely learned. In Prabhupada's word for word, it says supremely learned.
喺呢個詩節裏面咧，去到稱呼咧 Vyasadeva 咧為 Vidwan， 意思咧就係極有學識的，喺聖泡泡嘅翻譯當中。
Which is interesting because just a few verses before and in the previous chapters, we hear of Vyasa being unhappy and somewhat confused.
咁好有趣嘅地方咧，就係我哋喺上一章嘅時候咧，讀到Vyasadeva 咧，佢面對一個狀況咧，就係唔係太開心，有啲迷惑、疑惑。
Imagine you have spent your whole life doing some kind of, let's say, creative literary activity, and after doing everything, you look back on what you've done and you feel like, useless. What have I done?
咁你可以想像一下，我自己用咗一生嘅時間去到做一啲嘅文學嘅創作啦，但係去到最後咧，就覺得所有寫嘅呢啲嘢都係冇用嘅。
Just yesterday, Tirtharaj Prabhu was telling me he wrote his master's thesis on one famous Indologist scholar in Oxford. His name was Max Müller. You may have heard of him. He was from Germany.
咁咧，琴日咧 Tirtharaj Prabhu 講到咧，佢寫咗一篇嘅碩士嘅論文啦。咁咧就係關於有一位人士叫做 Max Müller, Indologist.
Very famous. He's very famous even in India.
咁就算咧喺印度咧都係好出名嘅。
And his kind of mission throughout his life was to discredit Indian traditional culture.
佢嘅使命咧就係咧要去到咧詆毀咧印度嘅文化。
But Tirtharaj Prabhu told us that he studied Max Müller's private letters, which he was writing, and his diary, which he wrote in German, which Tirtharaj reads.
咁 Tirtharaj Prabhu 咧就係讀到咧Max Müller 咧佢寫嘅一啲嘅私人嘅信件啦，同埋佢嘅日記係用德文寫嘅。
And he said toward the end of his life, he wrote a letter to his sister in which he said everything he was writing before was completely a waste of time.
咁講到咧，佢喺生命嘅末期嘅時候咧，佢寫咗封信俾佢嘅姐姐或者妹妹啦。咁咧就係講到咧，佢一生所寫嘅嘢，佢覺得都係嘥時間嘅。
And he had decided to become himself a kind of follower of Shankaracharya.
咁最後咧，佢就決定咧成為Shankaracharya 嘅追隨者。
Okay, he didn't become a Vaishnava, but okay, Shankara is, we understand, sent by Lord Shiva or sent by the Lord in a kind of form of Shiva. Anyway, the point is, he saw all of this as a waste of, all of what he had done before as a waste of time.
咁雖然佢冇成為 Vaishnava 啦，但係咧咁佢都係去到追隨住Shankaracharya 係可能主 Shiva 嘅一個嘅化身。咁咧但係咧嗰個重點咧就係佢覺得自己一生所寫嘅嘢都係冇用嘅。
Somewhat similar, we could say Vyasa was feeling despondent about all that he had composed previously.
咁所以可以兩者做一個嘅對比啦。咁 Vyasadeva 咧亦都係同樣嘅感受，覺得佢所寫嘅嘢佢不屑一顧。
And at the same time, he understood what was the problem, but he needed confirmation, and he got that confirmation from Narada.
所以咧佢係覺得有一啲嘅問題出現咗，但係佢需要有人咧去確定。咁呢一位嘅確定嘅人物咧就係 Narada。
Narada Muni always seems to show up just at the right time.
咁 Narada Muni 咧出現嘅時間咧就係啱啱好嘅。
At least in the Bhagāvatam he does.
至少咧喺《博伽雅談》係咁樣嘅。
Sometimes we might wish that Narada Muni would just show up in our lives sometime.
有陣時候喺我哋嘅生命裏面，我哋好可能希望 Narada Muni 都會出現。
Srila Prabhupada said once that we are followers of Narada. We are also, he is our guru.
聖巴帕咧有一次咧講到咧，我哋係追隨住 Narada Muni 嘅，佢係我哋嘅 guru。
And Narada, in this situation, as guru, he basically confirms what Vyasa was suspecting.
所以喺呢一度咧 ，Narada 咧作為guru 咧，佢就去到確認咗Vyasa 咧佢內心嗰個嘅疑惑。
So this can be an important function of the guru. We may have a sense of what we should do, but we may not be so sure. Then we can approach Guru and ask him, is this right?
咁咧呢個亦都係guru 嘅一個角色，我哋可能知道有啲乜嘢係需要去到做嘅，但係唔係好肯定。咁咧，但係咧 guru 咧就可以俾一個嘅確認我哋。
Of course, you have to also be ready for the possibility that the guru will say, totally wrong.
但係你都要準備好咧，guru 可能會同你講，你諗嘅其實係唔啱嘅，係相反。
I've found it's very common nowadays. One doesn't ask the guru so much for instruction or direction. One asks the guru for his opinion.
我發覺咧而家咧大家會有個傾向咧，就係少啲去到問 guru 佢嘅訓示係乜嘢啦，咁咧而係咧問咧佢嘅意見係乜嘢。
That's very nice. And because then when the guru says his opinion, then the disciple can say, anyway, that's your opinion.
咁當 guru 話呢個係我嘅建議啦、意見啦，但係門徒就會覺得只不過係你嘅意見，我有我嘅意見。
So he's Vyasa's suspicion is confirmed by Narada, and as a result, he is now undertaking this meditation.
咁所以 Vyasa 心中嘅疑惑咧得到確認咗之後咧，佢就開始佢嘅冥想。
It's a meditation which now he clearly understands he needs to focus entirely on the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
佢嘅冥想咧就係佢而家咧要完全全神貫注於至尊人格受神。
And so that's what he does, bhakti yogena, with a spirit of bhakti, of devotion.
以呢一個奉愛嘅精神咧去到做呢一個嘅冥想。
Bhakti yogena manasi samyak pranihite amale apashyat purusham purnam mayam chayat apashrayam. He sees the Paramam Purusha, the Supreme Lord, in his meditation.
佢喺佢嘅冥想裏面咧見到Paramam Purusha 至尊人物、至尊者。
Mayam cha yat apashrayam, and he sees the Lord and he sees Maya.
佢同一時間咧見到至尊主同埋咧 Maya。
And he sees that Maya is dependent on the Lord.
佢見到咧 Maya 咧係去到倚靠住至尊者嘅。
So this is also a hint for us in our meditation.
呢個亦都係對我哋嘅冥想嘅一個嘅提示。
We are encouraged to be receptive to the presence of the Lord in so many forms, in so many ways.
咁我哋咧被鼓勵咧係去到認識至尊者咧係唔同嘅形象、唔同嘅方式去到展現自己。
To be, you could say, receptive to the internal energy of the Lord.
亦都咧接受咧至尊者咧呢一個內在嘅能量。
And at the same time to recognize, there's also this external energy of the Lord.
同一時間咧覺察到原來咧係有主外在嘅能量。
And to distinguish between the two.
而且識得咧去到分辨兩者。
Because when we can distinguish between the two, then because we're always in between, tata sta, we're always sta, situated tata, on the bank, on the edge.
我哋咧係屬於呢一個嘅邊緣嘅能量，就好似個岸邊咁樣，可以兩邊走。
We have the power then to choose which way to go.
我哋有呢一個能力咧，可以去到選擇向邊一邊。
Krishna Surya Samaya Hoy Andakar Jahan Krishna Tahan Nahi Mayar Adhikar. Krishna is like the sun, Maya is like darkness.
The sun.
Krishna is like the sun.
Krishna 咧就好似太陽。
And Maya is like darkness.
Maya 咧就係呢一個嘅黑暗。
Wherever there is Krishna, the son of Krishna, there's no question of the darkness of ignorance.
當有 Krishna 嘅太陽嘅時候咧，係冇可能咧存在呢個黑暗。
And because we know that distinction, just like we can recognize sun is shining, we can see light, we can see shadow, we can always choose the light.
就好似我哋見到太陽嘅陽光啦，我哋咧可以去到時刻咧都可以去到選擇呢一個陽光嗰一邊嘅。
So in this way, Vyasa is an example for us. We might think, oh, Vyasa, he is Vidvan, he's very exalted, we can't do anything but, admire and be amazed by him, but we can also learn from him.
咁我哋可以從Vyasa 嗰度咧，佢為我哋做咗一個嘅榜樣啦。我哋可能覺得 Vyasa 好崇高啊，但係其實同一時間我哋都可以從佢身上去學習。
So in this verse 6, we start to get essentially what Vyasa is going to be teaching in the Bhagāvatam.
所以由第6節詩咧，我哋可以大概知道佢之後咧所講述《博伽雅談》係關於啲乜嘢。
Namely Bhakti Yoga to Adhokshaja, devotional service to the transcendent Lord.
所以個主題咧就係去到講述呢一個 Bhakti Yoga 奉愛瑜伽啦，係關於咧超然嘅至尊主。
And someone might ask, so why should I bother to do that?
有人可能問，關我咩事咧？
So much trouble.
好麻煩。
Getting up early in the morning.
朝頭早要起身啦，好早起身。
Not doing so many things I like to do.
做嘅嘢又唔係好中意做嘅嘢。
Listening to or reading Śrimad Bhagāvatam.
去到聆聽閱讀聖典博伽雅談。
So the verse is also saying why it's good to practice Bhakti Yoga, namely Anartha Upashama.
咁喺詩節裏面都講到咧，點解去到修習奉愛瑜伽嘅好處咧，就係可以減輕我哋呢一個嘅不必受嘅物質痛苦。
We know this word anartha, we hear it a lot.
Anartha 呢個字我哋都會經常聽到。
We hear about anartha nivritti.
我哋聽到呢一個字叫做Anartha Nivritti.
Which means, nivritti means suspension, the stopping of anartha.
咁 niriti 嘅意思咧就係去到停止佢啊，咁咧停止有呢一啲嘅 anatta 嘅出現。
And anartha is the opposite of artha.
anatta 嘅相反咧係 artha。
And artha is an interesting word. It can mean value.
artha 呢個字好有趣嘅，佢可以意思咧係解價值。
Arto jigyasura artarti jnani cha. There's 4 reasons why one might approach the Lord, and one of them is for artha, for, in that case, translated as wealth.
喺課家梵歌裏面有個詩節就係講有4類人啦，點解佢哋會去到親近至尊者啦？其中一類咧就 artha， 咁喺當中嘅翻譯咧就係翻譯為財富。
But it can also mean purpose, just having a purpose.
artha 亦都可以咧解釋為咧有一個嘅目的。
What are you doing today? I'm going shopping.
譬如你今日做啲乜嘢咧？我去買嘢。
Why are you going shopping?
點解你去買嘢咧？
Actually, I have to go shopping today.
其實我今日咁啱都要出去買嘢。
I have to buy some non-Hare Krishna clothes
我要買一啲非 Hare Krishna 嘅衫，
so I can be in disguise.
咁我就可以去喬裝自己。
Anyway, so I have a purpose.
咁所以我係有個目的嘅。
I have an artha.
所以我有個 artha。
Artha can also mean meaning, as in what is the meaning of this word?
咁所以 artha 另外一個意思可以解咧係意思意義。
So anartha can mean meaningless.
咁所以如果我哋加咗 an 喺前面咧 anatta 咧就係冇意義冇意思。
Or we could say pointless. What's the point? There's no point.
根本冇意思。
So anartha is, from a spiritual perspective, you could say, waste of time.
如果我哋用靈性嘅角度去睇 anatta 咧，就係講嘥時間。
And so the mitigation, the not removal, but the reduction of anartha is one of the reasons for engaging in bhakti yoga.
咁一個方法咧，唔係去完全去到停止呢一個 anatta， 而係咧去到舒緩佢咧，咁就係透過奉愛瑜伽。
This is what Srila Prabhupada is explaining in the second part of this purport.
聖巴巴喺要旨嘅第2個部分咧，去解釋呢一點。
It could be a little confusing. Prabhupada is first saying revival of the dormant affection or love of Godhead does not depend on the mechanical system of hearing and chanting.
呢度咧可能會比較難明少少嘅。一開始嘅時候咧，聖巴巴咧喺要旨裏面提到喚醒沉睡喺心中對守神嘅愛，不依靠聆聽吟誦吟唱嘅機械程序。
But it solely and wholly depends on the causeless mercy of the Lord.
而係咧完全依靠至尊主無緣故嘅仁慈。
Oh, so then there's no need to do any bhakti yoga.
咁樣睇嘅話，係咪就唔需要做奉愛瑜伽咧？
I don't need to get up early in the morning.
唔使朝頭早起身。
I don't need to do all these things I am not so inclined to do, and I can do all those things that I like to do.
咁我就唔需要做一啲其實我本身都唔想做嘅事情，而去做一啲我中意做嘅事。
No, that's not the message.
並唔係咁嘅意思。
The message is we do bhakti yoga because that gets us started. It gets us going.
咁咧嗰個信息咧就係我哋去到修習奉愛瑜伽係咧一個啟動。
Of course, here we can say Srila Prabhupada is speaking of bhakti yoga in terms of vidhi or rules, vaidhi sadhana bhakti.
咁聖巴巴呢度所講嘅奉愛瑜伽咧係講一種規範守則嘅規範性嘅修習方式。
In the second half of the verse, we get an explanation of why Vyasa now feels motivated to compose the Bhagavatam.
咁之後咧，詩詞裏面你講到Vyasadi 咧，佢開始有動力啊，去到寫呢一個嘅博伽雅談。
And that is, people are ignorant.
因為咧好多人咧處喺呢一個愚昧嘅狀態。
People are not aware that Bhakti Yoga can directly mitigate anartha.
好多人咧唔知道奉愛瑜伽咧可以直接去到減輕呢一個 anatta。
And so Chakre, he makes, what does he do or make? Sattvata Samhitam, this collection, Vedic literature, which is related with the Supreme Truth.
咁佢點樣做咧？佢咧就係去到編撰啦，去到整合啦呢一個關於絕對至尊真理嘅偉大文獻。
A Samhitam is a collection, it's an assemblage.
心血談咧係所講咧就好似一個三文治咁樣，要將佢組合埋一齊。
So the hymns of the Veda are referred to as Samhitas. So there's Rig Veda Samhita.
所以偉大嘅裏面嘅讚歌咧就係稱為呢一個嘅 Samhita， 就譬如好似呢個例句 Rig Veda Samhita，
which is a collection, a Samhita of, I forget the exact number, something over 1,000 hymns.
由1000個讚歌咧所去到組成嘅。
Okay, so we have the function of Bhakti Yoga, and we have Vyasa, the learned person's reason for composing this book, the Bhagavatam.
我哋聽到咧我哋聽到呢一個嘅奉愛瑜伽嘅作用啦，然之後咧就係Vyasadi 去到編撰博伽雅談嘅原因。
And the suggestion is that if we read or hear Śrimad Bhagāvatam, we will understand this point, and therefore we will be relieved of anartha.
咁如果我哋咧去到聆聽啦聖典博伽雅談嘅呢一個嘅信息嘅時候咧，我哋咧就能夠減輕我哋呢一個嘅不必要受嘅物質痛苦。
So that's good news.
呢個係一個好消息。
But lokasya ajanata, the vast majority of people, they're not here today. They're not appreciating this.
咁但係咧大部分嘅人咧大眾啦佢哋唔知道呢一點啊，咁佢哋冇辦法去到明白欣賞。
Maybe the problem is that they have not heard the Bhagavatam Mahatmya of the Skanda Purana.
可能佢哋嘅問題所在咧，就係佢哋冇聽過咧呢一個書咧叫做Gita Mahatmya Mahatmya， 咁咧就係博伽梵歌的榮耀。
Excuse me. So I thought we could inspire ourselves, if not the people in general, by hearing a bit of this Mahatmya.
咁我哋可以咧先啟發自己先，咁我哋聽一聽博伽梵歌的榮耀呢一本書。
Do you want to?
大家想唔想聽下
No?
？Yes.
Oh, okay. I heard about this from a devotee. I was in Mayapur recently, and he was telling me one detail from this.
咁我最近咧喺馬來普咧有一位奉獻者咧去到同我講到呢本書裡面嘅一啲嘅細節。
And what he told me, I found very intriguing.
佢聽到佢對我所講嘅咧，我覺得好耐人尋味。
He said in this Skanda Purana Mahatmya, Bhagavatam Mahatmya, it describes how Maharaj Parikshit wanted to hear the Śrimad Bhagāvatam before the story we know from the Bhagāvatam, in which he is cursed, and then he goes and eventually hears the Bhagavatam.
咁佢講到咧喺Parikshit Maharaj 咧喺佢被詛咒之前咧，其實佢已經咧想去到聽聖典博伽亞談。
He wanted to hear, but he was told, it's not yet time for you to hear, but you will hear, don't worry.
咁咧佢話佢當時咧就係就話佢未係時候去到聽呢一個嘅聖典博伽亞談，但係你將會去到聽到。
So his eagerness to hear was awakened. That's the point.
咁個重點咧就係佢嗰種渴望去到聆聽咧係喚醒咗。
But the story begins somewhat earlier than that, and I will begin to describe this, to summarize.
咁我會去總結一下咧喺呢一件事情在之前發生嘅事。
And I don't think we'll be able to conclude that today. Maybe tomorrow we can continue.
可能今日未必講得晒整個事情嘅，我哋可能留返聽日下一次。
So the sages at Naimisharanya, you know who is there, Shonaka, Rishi, and all the sages, and they're speaking with Sutta Goswami.
咁喺 Naimisharanya 呢個地方咧，有個好多嘅聖人啦，咁咧佢哋就係去到聆聽Sutta Goswami 講話。
They've heard that King Yudhishthir has installed Sri Vajranabha, who is the grandson of Pradyumna, as the next king of Mathura.
咁咧佢哋就聽到咧Yudhishthira 王咧去到將呢一個嘅皇位咧去到賜俾Pradyumna 嘅兒子Rajanabha.
And he had installed Maharaj Parikshit as the king of Hastinapur.
咁佢咧就係呢一個嘅 Mathura 嘅國王啦。咁另外咧Parikshit 咧就係登基咧成為呢一個嘅Hastinapur 嘅國王。
So they, the sages at Naimisharanya, were asking Sutta Goswami, so what happened then? What did these two kings do?
咁喺 Naimisharanya 裏面嘅聖人咧就問 Sutta Goswami 啦，當佢哋兩位登基之後咧，發生咗咩事啊？
Well, he begins to explain. He says they met. Maharaj Parikshit came to Mathura to meet Vajranabha, and Vajranabha was very happy to welcome him.
咁 Parikshit 王咧就去到 Mathura 咧，去到見呢一個嘅Rajanabha 王啦。佢哋Rajanabha 王咧非常之高興。
And also, here it says 108 wives of Krishna who were still present after Krishna had departed. They were present.
咁當時咧Krishna 雖然離開咗啦，但係咧佢有108位嘅妻子咧係在場嘅。
And this included Rohini.
當中咧包括 Rohini。
She was also present.
佢都在場。
So they all welcomed Maharaj Parikshit.
咁咧佢哋全部咧都去到迎接Parikshit 王。
And they spoke for some time about their fathers and their grandfathers. And they were appreciating them.
咁佢哋就開始講起佢哋嘅父親啦，佢哋嘅祖父啦，去到榮耀佢哋。
And then Maharaj Parikshit asked Vajranabha, "What is troubling you?"
咁然之後Parikshit 王咧就問Rajanabha 王：咦，你有啲乜嘢令到你煩惱㗎？
And Vajranabha says, "Well, the thing is, I've now been made king of Mathura. That's great, but there's practically nobody here to rule.
咁 Rajanava 王就話咧我咧而家就成為咗 Mathura 嘅國王啦，咁係好好嘅一件事情嚟嘅。但係咧，我冇乜神民俾我去到統治。
Because all the demons had been killed and all the demigods had gone back to heaven.
咁因為所有嘅惡魔咧都被殺死啦，咁呢啲半神人咧亦都翻返去佢哋天堂嘅居所。
So, what am I supposed to do here?
咁我喺度仲有啲咩可以做咧？
He says, I feel like I'm living in the forest.
覺得自己好似住喺一個森林。
There's nothing going on.
冇任何事發生。
And I don't know where everyone's gone.
亦都唔知道所有人去咗邊度。
So Parikshit Maharaj immediately calls for one sage named Shandilya.
Parikshit 王咧就去到呼喚咗咧有一個嘅聖人叫做
Shandilya.
Shandilya.
Yeah.
Shandilya.
And Shandilya had been a priest for Nanda Maharaj in Braj.
Shandilya 咧佢係Nanda Maharaj 嘅祭司嚟嘅。
So the sage comes and he begins to explain the situation.
呢個聖人咧就嚟到開始解釋。
So first he explains about the meaning of the word Vraja.
首先咧佢去解釋呢一個字 Vraja 嘅意思。
Do you want to hear what he told about
想唔
Vraja?
想聽聽 Raja 意思？
We always hear Vraja, Vrindavan, Vraja, Vrindavan. What is Vraja?
咁我哋成日聽到 Raj Vrindavan， 咁究竟 Raja 係咩意思咧？
So he gives the esoteric meaning. He says Vraja means all pervasive.
佢俾咗一個咧好神秘嘅意思咧，就係 Raja 嘅意思咧就係遍全嘅，無所不在。
So why is that significant? Because the land of Vraja, he says, is actually all pervasive.
佢講到咧，Raja 呢一個嘅地方咧，其實係無所不在嘅。
It's beyond the three modes of nature, and it's pervading this whole area.
超越咗物質自然三種形態啦，而係咧遍全喺呢一個地方。
And because it's beyond the modes of nature, it's ever blissful.
因為咧超越咗物質自然三形態咧，所以咧係永恆地喜樂。
The self-realized souls, the devotees, they're always feeling Krishna's presence, and they're always relishing Krishna prema.
咁覺悟咗自我嘅靈魂啦，奉獻者咧時刻咧都感受到 Krishna 嘅臨在啦，同埋咧去到品嚐 Krishna prema。
And then he goes on to explain that Srimati Radhika is like the Atma, like the self of Lord Sri Krishna.
佢跟住咧解釋咧就係Śrimati Radhika 咧就係Krishna 嘅靈魂 Atma。
And she's eternally relishing pastimes with Lord Krishna, who is known to be Atma Rama.
佢係永恆地咧同 Krishna 咧去到品嚐住同 Krishna 嘅逍遙時光啦，而 Krishna 咧被稱為咧 Atma Rama。
What means Atma Rama?
Atma Rama 嘅意思係咩咧？
Yes.
自我滿足嘅。
Yeah. So Krishna is the completely self-satisfied Lord.
咁咧 Krishna 咧佢係完全係自我滿足嘅。
And Radha is the Atma of the Atma Rama.
咁而Radha 咧就係呢一位自我滿足嘅人物嘅裏面嘅自我嗰個我靈魂。
So Krishna is enjoying in Vraja. He's with the cows. He's with the cowherd boys. He's with the gopis.
Krishna 喺Raja 呢個地方咧係同母牛童啦、母牛姑娘啦，同埋所有嘅牛咧一齊。
And he's always achieving the fulfillment of his desires.
佢咧係無時無刻咧都係佢嘅願望咧係完全嘅得到滿足嘅。
And therefore he's called Aptakama.
Aptakama.
Yeah, kama means desire. Apta means obtained.
Apta 嘅意思咧就係獲得，咁 Kama 咧就係願望、慾望。
So this is going on, and then he explains, this is Shandilya Rishi explaining, that there are two kinds of pastimes of Krishna.
然之後咧Shandilya 咧聖人咧就繼續去解釋 Krishna 嘅逍遙時光咧有兩類嘅。
There's his transcendental pastimes, and there's his ordinary pastimes.
一個咧係佢嘅超然嘅逍遙時光，另外一個咧就係平凡嘅逍遙時光。
So his transcendental pastimes he's enjoying in Raja, in his internal energy.
佢嘅超然嘅逍遙時光咧係喺 Raja 裏面去發生啦，同佢嘅奉獻者一齊。
And these are his loving exchanges with his devotees.
佢同奉獻者之間嗰種嘅愛心交流。
But then there are his ordinary pastimes, and this is about his delivering the fallen souls. That's called ordinary.
咁佢另外一個平凡嘅逍遙時光咧，就係佢嚟到咧去到拯救墮落嘅靈魂。
And he is also reducing, he's minimizing the burden of the earth, and he's doing this especially in Raja, in Mathura, in Dwaraka.
咁佢嚟到咧，亦都係減輕咧地球所承受嘅負擔啦。咁咧特別係喺呢一個嘅Mathura 裏面去到做到。
And he says, you too, he's speaking to two kings, right?
佢當時咧係同兩位國王喺度講話嘅。
Who is he speaking to?
記唔記得嗰兩位國王
Parikshit and
Rajanaba.
Vajranabha. Yes. Thunderbolt navel.
個肚臍係好似閃電、雷電。
Thunderbolt navel. That's the name. Anyway, he says, the pastimes of the Lord that you two are experiencing, these are ordinary pastimes.
咁所以你哋而家經歷咧，同至尊主嘅逍遙時光咧，係一個俗世嘅平凡平庸嘅逍遙時光。
What is ordinary in Guangdonghua?
普通。平凡，普通。
Yeah, and he goes on to explain about ordinary pastimes. They're in this world and they extend up to the highest planets of the universe.
咁佢就講到喺呢一個世界去到展現呢啲平凡啦、普通嘅逍遙時光，一路咧講到去更加高嘅星球。
And for the devotees who are devotional, the transcendental pastimes are manifest.
對於奉獻者嚟講咧，有啲呢啲嘅超然嘅逍遙時光咧，就會被展現出嚟。
Then he goes on to explain there's three kinds of devotees who are present in the world.
佢繼續去解釋咧，喺世界上面咧有三種嘅奉獻者。
There are the intimate associates of the Lord, eternal associates.
親密嘅內在嘅奉獻者。
There are those who desire to join the eternal associates.
有一類咧就係去有呢個慾望咧，去到加入呢一個永恆嘅同伴。
And there's a third category. Who could they be?
咁第三類係邊一類咧？
They're the demigods.
就係呢一個嘅半神人。
Demigods and their expansions.
同埋佢哋嘅擴展。
Who had been sent for Krishna to help in Krishna's
咁
pastime.
就係被 Krishna 咧派送到嚟呢一度咧，去到協助 Krishna 上演佢嘅事業時光。
So all of this is for Shandilya to explain to Vajranava why Mathura is practically empty. He said they've all been sent back.
咁呢個就係Shandilya 就去解釋俾Rajanava 講，就係呢個原因啦。所有呢啲嘅奉獻者，呢三類嘅全部都被送翻去啦，所以你呢度冇人。
Okay, so he's explained that. Therefore, okay, that gets a little technical. Therefore, he says, Vajranava, you should not worry.
佢就話因此咧，你咧唔需要擔心。
Okay, so why should I not worry? Well, you have a job to do here.
你喺呢度咧係有一個職責。
You should now go all over the Mathura, the greater Mathura area, and you should establish towns and villages wherever Krishna has had his pastimes.
咁你哋而家個任務咧就係你去到呢個 Mathura 大啲嘅範圍，然之後咧去到每一個 Krishna 咧上演過逍遙時光嘅城鎮，去到建立佢哋。
And you should establish these places in relation to his pastimes, so they can have, those places can have names that indicate the pastimes of those places.
咁呢啲地方咧，你就要將佢哋咧命名，呢一啲嘅名稱咧就係同 Krishna 嘅逍遙時光咧係相關嘅。
And he specifies Govardhan, Dirgapur, which is Dig, Mathura, Mahavan, Nandagram, and Brihatsanu, which is Varshana.
佢特別咧指明呢一啲地方咧，譬如Govardhan 啦、Varshana 啦、Nandagram 啦，啲
etc.
諸如此類。
And he says you should engage in the service of the rivers, mountains, kundas, and kunjas of Braja.
然之後咧，去到服務喺 Braja 裏面嘅山啦、河啦、山水啦、河啦、湖啦。
For by doing so, you will be happy, and the citizens of your kingdom will prosper.
所以咧，你咁樣做嘅時候咧，你就會開心，而喺你嘅臣民咧，亦都會咧係繁榮。
Now, we might say, well, wait a minute, the problem was he practically has no citizens.
咁我哋可能又問停一停，咦？但係佢都冇呢啲嘅子民。
So what's going to happen is that Parikshit Maharaj is going to go back to Hastinapur, and he's going to send many Brahmins and Kshatriyas to Mathura to fill it up again.
咁嗰個計劃咧就係點咧？就係Parikshit 王咧翻去 Hastinapur， 然之後咧就會派送一啲嘅婆羅門同埋剎帝利咧去到 Mathura 咧去到填滿。
And he says, you do this, you, as I've described, and eventually, he says, one day you are going to meet Sri Uddhava.
咁佢就話你咧跟住我嘅指示去做得噶啦，有一日咧你就會遇到咧 Uddhava。
And he will instruct you and your mothers in the mysteries of Braja.
然之後咧佢就會去到教導你啦，同埋你嘅媽媽咧關於 Braja 嘅機密。
In the mysteries of Braja and the pastimes of the Lord.
關於 Braja 嘅呢一啲嘅秘密啦，同埋逍遙時光。
So all of this is just kind of setting the scene for what's going to come, which will be a revelation of the glories of Śrimad Bhagāvatam.
咁呢啲所有一切咧，其實都係一個嘅準備啦，去到展示聖典博伽雅壇嘅光榮。
So stay tuned.
咁大家繼續留意，密切留意。
We can continue this tomorrow.
咁我哋聽日再繼續 Saturday。
Oh, Saturday. Okay.
OK。
If you want to speak tomorrow, it's really okay.
It's very okay.
聽日
If you want to give a class tomorrow, it's also okay. If we
You
actually
can.
Well, I kind of got something started here. Maybe I should.
咁已經開咗個頭啦。
Grantara Śrimad Bhagāvatam ki jai. Any comment, question?
有冇問題嘅？
So Maharaj, in the purport,
Hmm.
the Prabhupada mentioned that hearing and chanting are the beginning of devotional service.
Yeah.
But then, as you mentioned, he also stated that actually revival of our Krishna consciousness cannot depend just on mechanical chanting and hearing. So
Yeah.
at the beginning, we are all mechanically chanting and hearing. But because in the Prabhupada it mentioned that it really depends on the costless mercy of the Lord. So, but at the beginning, we all started with mechanical chanting and hearing. So, should we just continue and then wait patiently for the costless mercy of the Lord, or anything that we can do to speed up the process?
Okay.
咁 Josh Mazi 嘅問題就係、我哋一開始嘅時候念誦咧都係機械式咁樣去到做嘅，咁有啲咩方法咧可以令到我哋快啲去到獲得至尊者無緣故嘅仁慈？
First, I would say we use the word mechanical, but I would say it's not entirely mechanical. If it were entirely mechanical, that would be a machine, and we are not machines.
咁雖然我哋用呢一個字咧就係機械式啦，其實我會話我哋唔係完全機械式嘅，因為我哋唔係機器嚟嘅，
Some sort of attraction is there.
一定咧係有一啲嘢咧去到吸引住我哋。
And Srila Prabhupada said one time that anyone who is chanting the holy name, it's to be understood that person has received the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu.
聖爸爸咧曾經講過咧，如果有一個人只要咧佢去到念誦主嘅聖名咧，佢肯定咧係接受咗咧主 Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 嘅仁慈。
Another point is sort of the other part maybe of a response is to say, yes, we can speed up the process.
咁但係另外一個講法咧，我哋話我哋可以加快呢一個嘅速度嘅，
By reading and hearing Śrimad Bhagāvatam.
就係透過聆聽同埋閱讀咧聖典寶加雅談。
And doing so in a mood, what Prabhupada calls a receptive mood. He says, yeah, receptive.
咁咧聖爸爸講過咧，我哋用一個嘅心水咧，就係一個去到打開嘅、接受嘅、嘅心水去到。
Yeah, and the next verse in the word for word, Shuyamanayam, simply by giving aural reception.
就係咧透過用耳朵去到聆聽。
And it's interesting,
Shuyamanayam.
that phrase, the English is interesting. You're not taking, you're giving. What are you giving? Reception. What kind of reception? Oral.
咁所以呢度有少少特別嘅，個英文咧，佢就唔係講你接受，其實你係去到給予，咁你回饋嘅係乜嘢咧？就係、一個嘅聆聽。
And perhaps a third point is to, as part of this giving oral reception, is cultivating a sense of urgency.
咁第三點除咗呢一個給予呢個耳朵即係聆聽啦、接受啦，咁咧第三點就係有一種嘅緊迫性啊，緊迫迫切。
Ayur haradivai pungsang udyan astan chayana so. Uttama shloka vartaya. Ayur harati vaipungsang vidyanastanjayan tasyarte yakshano nita uttama shloka vartaya. For everyone, the sun's rising and setting is shortening their lives.
咁對於每一個人嚟講咧，每一次嘅日出日落咧，就意味住我哋生命嘅縮短。
There's an exception, and that is by hearing Uttama Shloka, by hearing the supermost shlokas.
咁有一個嘅例外嘅，就係咧去到聆聽呢一個至高無上嘅詩節。
Or he who is glorified by transcendental song. Transcendental slokas, verses.
或者咧去聆聽呢一個被呢一啲超然嘅詩節咧所去到榮耀嘅人物。
There's at the end of his book, Shri Krishna Leela Stava from Sanatana Goswami, he has 5 verses glorifying, praising the Bhagāvatam.
咁Sanatana Goswami 喺佢嘅一本書叫做 Leela Stava
Krishna
Leela Stava 裏面咧有5節詩節咧去到榮耀呢一個博伽亞壇。
One of them, I see if I can remember. Paramananda Pataya Prema Varshaksharaya Te Sarvatra Sarvasevyaya Shri Krishnaya Namostu Me. That Pata, the recitation or reading of Bhagavatam, brings Paramananda, brings the highest bliss.
閱讀啦同埋吟誦咧呢一個嘅聖典博伽亞壇咧，能夠帶俾我哋咧最高嘅快樂。
And Prema Varshi Aksharaya, it is a shower of every syllable, every akshara of the Bhagavatam is a shower of prema.
咁咧博伽亞壇嘅每一個音節啊，都係呢一個嘅prema 純粹嘅愛一個嘅好似一個灑落啊。
Oops. Oh.
灑下呢一個嘅純粹嘅愛。
And Sarvatra Sarvasevyaya, the Bhagavatam is servable, it can be served by everyone, everywhere.
所有人可以喺任何嘅地方咧，都去到服務聖典博伽亞壇。
And Sri Krishnaya, addressing the Bhagavatam, you are Sri Krishna himself.
咁最後咧就係講到咧聖典博伽亞壇咧，你就係 Krishna 本人。
So, especially Prema Varshaksharaya Te, I think is nice to remember.
咁我覺得其中一個詩節就係講博伽亞壇每一個嘅音節咧，就好似呢一個純粹嘅愛灑落嚟嗰個詩節，我覺得特別
Every
可以記得。
Every syllable is a shower of prema.
係每一個音節都係呢一個純粹嘅愛嘅灑落。
Is that okay?
Thank you.
Grantara Śrimad Bhagāvatam ki jai. Hare Krishna.